is extremely important. Of course, traditionally we always engage with chipset vendors for the device industry to make sure that the chipsets that are being brought to market are fully compatible with the networks that are also being standardized. So that is one aspect of it, and of course 5G is no exception. On top of that, in 5G we are working together with operators. We have 38 MOUs with different operators, and together with operators, academia and industries, we are actually trying out different use cases for 5G, be it transportation, be it mining, be it autonomous cars. We have also done water projects with sensor, we have done connected vineyards and things like that, to see that the use cases that we are talking about in 5G actually make economical and practical sense also for these type of industries. That is absolutely correct. It's much more than just mobile broadband. 5G for enhanced mobile broadband will happen by itself just because the demand for data is there and traffic is growing in India by 11 times before 2023. But on top of that, 5G has the ambition to do more, to be one unified network system for all types of use cases, including industrial use cases, transport use cases, healthcare use cases. And to be quite honest and frank, these industries traditionally do not work with cellular technology, and they are not a natural partner to the telecommunication industry. So there, it's very important that we reach out and explain to them what our technology can bring into their business, how cellular connectivity and the absence of cables in manufacturing, for example, how that can improve efficiency and make manufacturing more flexible. And that's something we're doing, and it's being extremely successful. Once these industry players understand what this new technology can do for them, they become very excited. So 5G has been accelerated several times since we first started to talk about 5G. So what is happening now is standard is being completed this year. By the end of December, there will be some correction process during the first half of next year. But in practice, this means that we can get 3GPP standard compliant chipset and networks into the labs by the mid of 2018, and then being deployed in devices and commercially in the field in the early 2019. So that's the first phase of deployments that will come. Several spaces for India where they can take part. One, the most important I think, is the role of ecosystem enhancement when it comes to industries, when it comes to the type of sensors and the type of devices that are needed in industries. Here we have a cooperation with the IIT where we have a 5G testbed that startups can use in order to test out their device ideas and their sensor ideas. 5G, the journey to 5G starts with 4G, and India is an advanced 4G market today where you have leapfrogged some of the development of 2G, 3G and gone straight into 4G in many areas. So that's a very important first step. Secondly, we've heard today about all the work that's ongoing to shape the regulation and the spectrum strategy for India as a continent, which is very encouraging, I think. So I think from that perspective, having a strong 4G deployment and a very focused strategy from the government going into 5G, both spectrum and regulation, puts India in a good place to meet the 2020 timeframe that we're talking about. So I don't see India as being behind in 5G, rather the opposite. I see a strong momentum and a quite coherent view from the government and the industry on what to do on 5G. I think that what the regulator can do is to make sure that the infrastructure is simple enough to deploy, that there are regulations making it possible to deploy the system in the networks, that there are frequency bands that you can operate on, and that the economics in terms of spectrum and other assets are reasonable. And from what I hear today, India is taking the steps to change the regulation in this manner. I think the absolute first step is to get a unified and coherent spectrum in place, and that has been the drawback for India in the past from 2G, 3G and 4G. The spectrum situation was uncertain and took very long time to get it harmonized. Today that will be done from the start with 5G, so that's really, really crucial. The other steps that you need to take, so 5G is really built on top of 4G initially. It uses 4G as what we call an anchor layer to provide coverage, seamless coverage everywhere in the beginning before it's fully rolled out. So the first step that operators have to take is to actually prepare their 4G network, to enhance their 4G network with better transport, with the right architecture for 5G, to increase the capacity through all the software features and the new hardware that is available in the market, and roll that out as a precursor to be ready when 5G is available in terms of NR 3GPP standard. So that varies very much from market to market, I must say. There are so many devices deployed on especially 2G that it's hard to see that 2G will go away anytime soon. 3G is more similar to 4G in that sense, that it's hard to see that you need both in every network, but of course there are differences from market to market. But I see 4G staying along for a long time, 3G reducing a little bit, and 2G staying also for a very long time. We say often that the Indian market is a developing market, but I must say that from 4G and from the data consumption perspective, India is an extremely advanced market. I mean, we are having 4 gigabytes per average gigabytes per average user already today, and we expect that to go to 18 gigabytes per average user in 2018. What that means is a traffic increase by 11 times if you count that there will be more users on the system as well. So India is definitely in the forefront of data consumption, and that to me also means that India will have to be in the forefront of 5G to satisfy that demand, and India will be in the forefront of satisfying that demand as we get the spectrum and regulations in place.